I'm Jordan Rayner, and this is the Word Before Work. Today we're reading from 1 Thessalonians 4, verses 11 through 12. Here's what it says. Make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. You should mind your own business and work with your hands just as we told you, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, and so that you will not be dependent on anybody. After spending the first 21 verses of 1 Corinthians 9 defending his right to raise financial support to preach the gospel, Paul gives us the clearest explanation as to why he chose to continue to work as a culture-creating tent maker. In verses 22 and 23, he writes, quote, I have become all things to all people so that by all possible means I might save some. I do all this for the sake of the gospel, end quote. Paul understood that in order for the gospel to be heard, followers of Christ must first be able to relate to those who they are ministering to. And there's perhaps no more effective place to do this than in the workplace, where we spend the vast majority of our waking hours and have a natural environment for building genuine relationships with believers and non-believers alike. For the Apostle Paul, tent making would have been the perfect opportunity to build relationships with those outside of his immediate social circles. As Dr. Mark Russell points out in his extensive study on Paul's work, quote, Paul was a Jew and a Roman citizen of high education, so he could easily identify with those from similar backgrounds. His work as a tent maker was a deliberate strategy that enabled him to identify with another, primarily different group of people. By participating in tent-making trade associations and guilds, he would have become enmeshed in previously inaccessible social networks, end quote. Listen, believer, before the gospel can be heard, the messenger must win the respect of the intended audience. Paul knew that being an excellent tent maker outside the four walls of the synagogue was one of the most effective ways to win the respect of non-Christians, which is why he encouraged the church at Thessaloniki and us to follow his example, saying, quote, make it your ambition. Your ambition, he says, to lead a quiet life, to mind your own business and to work with your hands just as we told you, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders and so that you will not be dependent on anybody, end quote. Once you and I have won the respect of outsiders, of non-Christians, we, like Paul, will be put in positions to preach the gospel in word and in deed. And that brings us to the second reason why Paul chose to work, which we will explore in the next devotional. Today's devotional only scratches the surface of how God's word connects to our work. If you want to go deeper, sign up for my free 20-day devotional called The Word Before Work Foundations at twbwfoundations.com. These email devotionals are designed to help you gain a rich understanding of the biblical narrative of work, how exactly your work matters for eternity, and what those truths mean for how we ought to work today. You can sign up right now, again, for free at twbwfoundations.com.